Hi guys, Alec, Peirce, Tech Tips. Yeah, so here we are back. We're back at Simcoe Diving in Barrie, Ontario. What I want to deal with today is a topic that's a little bit controversial. In fact, more than a little bit. As a matter of fact, not too long ago, a month ago or so, Kevin and I made a video about the use of the long hose. And in that video, we caused quite a bit of controversy. Most of the controversy, however, had nothing to do with the long hose, which was too bad because that was the topic. What it had to do was the fact that I made a mistake when I was describing the deployment of the long hose. I am not an expert on modern technical diving. Even with my commercial diving training from 100 years ago, I said that right in the video. I'm not an expert. And I certainly have never ever said that I'm perfect, that I don't make mistakes. Anyone who says that, you know, there's an end button, delete. So what I want to do today is once again reintroduce that topic. The use of the long hose, safe second. Now, in actual fact, it's a little bit of a misnomer because it's hard to tell if you're a long hose fan which of the 2 second stages is your safe second. But let me explain very quickly once again. And fortunately, this time as well, we have a very, very short video, literally a few seconds, which shows a tech diver, a trained, certified, experienced tech diver actually using a long hose. He's actually, in the video you're going to see in just a minute, short video, only a few seconds, you're going to see in a few minutes, he's actually demonstrating the use of side mount. Yeah. But in the process of demonstrating the use of side mount, he goes through the various skills that a tech-equipped diver might do, and one of them was the use of the long hose. So with credit to the publisher, we are going to show you a little bit of that. So there's no question now that what you're going to see is the true, proper deployment of a long hose as specified in the books. However, very, very quickly, here's the reason for this video, for this topic to even exist. The long hose, Hogarthian use method, whatever you want to call it, the long hose certainly has an application. At no time have I indicated that's not the case. I've not said that you shouldn't use it, that it's useless, that it has no, just the opposite. I very carefully, even in the prior video, I said that the long hose does have an application. However, its application is quite limited. It was designed, developed, created, whatever you want to call it, for specific applications. Any other use of the long hose is contrary to good scuba practices. That's my point, that's my position. Okay? Now that being the case, unless a diver is being trained to dive in those very specific circumstances, he shouldn't use the long hose. Well, other than for training or practice, that's fine. So let me give you an example. A diver walks into a dive store, and I had a dive store for 50 years. Literally, not an exaggeration. A diver walks into a dive store and walks up to the counter and says, yeah, I've always wanted to go scuba diving. I have a swimming pool and we have a cottage up on the Muskokas and I like to dive once in a while. And I go down to Florida every year. I would like to become a scuba diver so I can check out the bottom of my boat and maybe dive on the reef in Key Largo. And once in a while, I'd really like to do that. What do I do? And it used to happen all the time. And that's wonderful. That's what we did in our business. And we would take that very enthusiastic person, put him through a wonderful training program, get him certified as a diver, make sure he was a safe, recreational diver so that his training and his skills would match the type of diving he wanted to do. And off he went. Happy customer, happy dive store owner. Where's the beef? Unfortunately, I know of, and I have heard of many more dive stores that are proponents of technical diving. Nothing wrong with that. But when the diver walked into the store, he did not say, yeah, I've always wanted to be a diver. I want to learn about long hose. He doesn't know long hose from short hose. He doesn't know snorkel from tank. So what's my point here? A recreational diver. And please remember that most divers, and I'm going to use that word most because we're not talking the majority, we're not talking the vast majority, we're talking most divers. Most diving in the world, like it or not, are recreational divers. They want to go to the cottage, they want to go to the reef, they want to take pictures and so on. They're not interested in penetration wreck or cave diving. They're not really interested in that at that point, certainly not when they're starting out. Let me make another point while I'm saying that. Most technical divers started as recreational divers. Think about that for just a minute. Anyway, So I understand that many, many dive stores, when a diver walks in and says, I want to be a diver so I can dive on the reefs in Key Largo when I go to Florida. And that dive store then produces all of the necessary equipment for that diver to make penetration wreck dives and cave dives, including long hose and a variety of other technical gear, all of which is excellent for its stated purpose, but not for recreational divers. That's my point. So, the long hose, is it for you? Again, for the specific purposes it was designed, yes, absolutely. With proper training, because you don't just go up and buy a long hose and put it on and say, okay, I'm a tech diver, I'm a long hose tech diver, let's go. No, no, no. You need proper training and practice as well, because the use of the long hose is not a standard procedure that all divers learn. Only the specific divers diving in that specific circumstance. You need training, and then you need practice, and regular practice. It's easier to lose a skill that you don't use on a regular basis. In those cases, the long hose is for you. For the vast majority of cases, no. What I'd like to do first of all is show you, just so it's clear, the deployment of the long hose. And right here I'm going to pause and let Kevin show you that little clip. And what you're going to see is a diver in Sidemount, a technical diver in Sidemount, swimming towards the camera. And as he swims towards the camera, he takes his primary out of his mouth, which is actually on a long hose, 7-foot hose, wrapped around his neck. He takes it out, takes it off, and hands it to the diver who is out of air. And almost simultaneously, this particular diver is very experienced and practiced, almost simultaneously he then recovers his secondary, which is hanging at his chest, and puts it into his mouth. Let's watch this. Okay, Kev, do your thing. This guy that you just saw is very experienced, very, very well trained. And that, of course, is one of the good things, I suppose, about technical training, because technical training by its very virtue, by its very nature, requires a great deal of training and practice. This guy had it. You can't take a technical course and the guy says, okay, here's how you do it. Okay, don't forget that. And you've got to practice it. You've got to train in the water and practice. But man, this guy always did that. There were a couple of things that I want to point out in that particular video. And you're welcome to go back and re-watch that little piece again a couple of times. One of the reasons that the long hose Hogarthian concept, process developed was based on the reasoning that an out-of-air diver would grab the regulator out of your mouth in an emergency. Well, there used to be some truth to that. Personally, I don't think that's the case, if modern, standardized training is followed. Now, in that video, you saw what happened. First of all, there was no emergency in that video. Obviously, there was no emergency because there was no flurrying and there was no thrashing around. Nobody was in danger of drowning. The diver very calmly took his primary out of his mouth and he very calmly took it one roll from around his neck. There are 2 rolls. I don't know what happened to the other roll of hose. He only took off one. I guess that comes off later. I'm not too sure. And he handed it to his out-of-air buddy, you see, which saves his buddy. Of course, he has no air. You see, so now he has to find, unfortunately, it's hanging right there on a necklace. He has to find his alternate second. I don't want to call it safe second because I haven't decided yet which of the 2 seconds he has is the safe one. But anyway, he takes his alternate second, puts it into his mouth, which now becomes his primary, and everything's fine. The 2 divers are okay. One guy's on a 7-foot hose and one guy's on, okay, everything's just fine. So it does work. The long hose does work. With proper training and practice, it does work. A lot of questions in there. A lot of questions in there. And the question that always comes to my mind is, your buddy ran out of air. He's not very bright, first of all. He's out of air in danger of drowning, and we all know what that means. Why would you take your source of air out of your mouth? Increase the risk. You increase the risk to yourself, of course, but you increase the risk to your buddy. One wrong breath, you suck in water, and you start to cough and choke and gasp, and personally. And certainly for recreational divers who are out there for fun, shallow diving, generally warm, clear reefs at the cottage, cleaning the boat, taking pictures and so on, they just don't need this aggravation. They're not going to invest the time as tech divers have done, for proper training, which is not inexpensive, and practice, not inexpensive, and equipment, certainly not inexpensive. So why would you train a recreational diver to use equipment and a technique that doesn't apply to his diving? What I want to do now is just quickly show you, and you can compare these two little sections, the little video we just showed you, to a current standard deployment of a safe second. The current standard answer to out of air. Okay, this feels good, Kevin. I need some water, bitty buddy. Anyway, so here I am now in what I call, and what is called, the standard regulator buoyancy compensator safe second setup. Okay, scuba system, if you like, whatever you want to call it. Regulator on my tank. I don't have a tank on, but anyway, regulator on my tank, SPG, my buoyancy compensator, ready to go, my primary so I can scuba dive and enjoy it, all ready to go, and very, very visible. I mean, what's that big yellow spot on your chest, Alec? The octopus, the safe second, which is there for the sole purpose of my dummy buddy, sorry, Kev, my buddy, who occasionally, doesn't think too far ahead, like 20 minutes. And you notice that this particular safe second is a standard deployment, standard setup as well, which meaning really all it is a second stage that's been brightly colored, not like this black one. And then there's a longer hose with a yellow hose. Now you all know this. I'm not trying to teach you anything you don't know. There it is. That's the, okay, so now let's go into the deployment. Okay, and compare again to this very short demonstration with what you just saw. All right, with the, don't forget about the premises that I gave that one, that one's not an emergency. Okay, here I am swimming along, enjoying myself, and my buddy, I don't dive with Kevin anymore, I used to, comes along, and he swims up to me, and he's signaling he's out of air. If he's signaling he's out of air, he's not an emergency. If he's got time to do that, he can come up, and we got a few seconds to sort things out. So what would I do? Well, it's very simple. I would simply show him where the safe second is. His safe second. It's not my safe second. It's his safe second. It's the second to keep him safe. Watch. Here's what I would do. I don't need to point at it. Tell me it's not obvious. And tell me you can't get to it. He just pulls it and sticks it in his mouth. And then he's over there a long ways away from me, which is where I like Kevin when I'm diving with. And everybody's perfect. Did you see me taking my primary out of my mouth? No. Did you see me increasing the risk to me? No. The risk to my buddy? No. He already was at risk. No, the whole thing works smoothly and quickly. Matter of seconds. 1 or 2 seconds. Did you see me pulling a hose 1, 2, 3, 4 rolls from it? No. I didn't do anything. Let me give you this. Let me give you a situation. I'm a photographer. I used to be quite a bit of a photographer. And photographers, we talked about this in one of my tech tips. Photographers basically are jerks. They forget that there are other people in the water, like their buddy and the other 5 guys on the dive boat, and they're down there taking pictures, and it's a picture of something you've never seen before, like a sand dollar or something. And they want to get a great picture, and everything else is forgotten. Their whole mind anyway. Like, I wasn't like that. Well, I don't think I was. So anyway, the point is I'm under a reef, and I'm focusing on this picture. My fins and my body is all stretched out, and I'm down in there looking under the reef like this, and my buddy runs out of air. Okay, perfect timing. Well, of course it's perfect timing, meaning it's a real screw up, because if you run out of air when you're prepared for it, you're not running out of air, are you? Anyway, so that's what happens. So I'm down there like this, and I'm taking a picture, and I don't want to be disturbed. I'm waiting for that little moray to pull out, and my buddy runs out of air. What happens? He comes over, he pulls off the safe second, and he's breathing from it, and I take my picture, and then as I go to turn away from taking it, oh shit, did you run out of it? You see? With this particular standard setup, the diver, the donor, if you like, is not even involved. He's only involved in the emergency, if it was. He's only involved because he's in the water. He's only involved because he happens to be there. But he doesn't have to do anything. Compare that to the video of the long hose. Now, once again, let me end with this, okay? I am not saying the long hose is not useful. Just the opposite. It has a fantastic, specific application. but it is not the best choice for recreational divers, certainly when they're not starting in diving. Let's get them used to standard procedures. That's why they paint fire extinguishers red, so people can spot them easily. Okay? Standard. Get them safe, get them standard. If they express that desire in technical diving, get them onto a technical diving course, explain the ins and outs, everything, get them trained. And in that training, depending on and where they're going, specific dives, in that training, the long hose may very well be the proper system for them to use. Go for it. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Okay, guys. Hope there's something in there of enjoyment to you. Keep the comments coming. I answer a lot of them. I'm not doing as many. I'm so busy right now, but I'll get back to them. I love the comments and the suggestions. Talk to you soon. Alec, Peirce, Tech Tips. I'm going diving now, Kevin.